They say time buries all things. But across the windswept sands of Egypt, something refuses to be forgotten. Massive stones rise with impossible precision. Structures align perfectly with the stars, as if the builders had access to secrets written not in books, but in the very fabric of the universe. Who were these people? How did they carve order from chaos, not just in stone, but in spirit? We call them ancient, primitive even. But what if they were something else entirely? Not behind us, but beyond us. The story begins not with pyramids, but with the Nile. That sacred river, a slow, eternal pulse, was the bloodstream of a civilization that refused to die. Every year it would flood, and every year the Egyptians would welcome its chaos with calm. For them, the unpredictable rhythm of nature wasn't a threat. It was a cosmic symphony. They didn't just survive in the desert, they mastered it. The land of sand and stone became a living manuscript, and they, its authors. While we build walls to keep nature out, they built temples to bring it in. While we bury our dead in silence, they raised colossal tombs to speak across the ages. Theirs was a world rooted in harmony. Between man and cosmos, earth and sky, life and death. The Great Pyramid of Giza stands not just as a monument, but as a question mark carved in stone. Rising 481 feet into the air, aligned with stunning precision to true north. Something we'd struggle to achieve today, even with GPS. Its base spans 13 acres, leveled to within less than an inch. Over 2.3 million blocks of stone, some weighing up to 80 tons, stacked without mortar, locked together with such precision that not even a human hair fits between them. We're told this was done with copper chisels and wooden sleds. We're told tens of thousands of workers toiled for decades. But here's the thing. Copper tools can barely scratch granite. Wooden sleds sink into sand. And even today, with cranes and diggers, we would struggle to replicate such a feat. Not in scale, but in soul. Something doesn't add up. Could it be that we're looking at a remnant of knowledge, not primitive, but profound? A kind of technological spirituality that marries engineering with a cosmology far beyond our own. The pyramids of Giza mirror Orion's belt. 3 stars, 3 pyramids, perfectly placed. And not just for any night sky. They mirror the stars as they appeared over 12,000 years ago, long before the dynastic Egyptians of our history books. Coincidence or echo? Their temples and tombs weren't randomly scattered. They were aligned with solstices and equinoxes, with Sirius and the Pleiades, with the cosmic rhythms of the sky. This wasn't astronomy. This was devotion. An architecture of remembrance, a blueprint of the stars embedded in stone. We look up and see dots of light. They looked up and saw home. In the Temple of Karnak, 134 massive columns soar toward the sky, some weighing over 70 tons. The precision with which they are carved and placed suggests a level of understanding we rarely credit to the ancient world. Some theorists have proposed sound-based tools, or even forgotten knowledge of resonance and frequency. Stone, after all, reacts to vibration. Is it so far-fetched to imagine they used sound not just for ceremony, but for construction? We use cranes and diggers, but cannot agree how the Egyptians lifted blocks we'd hesitate to move even with heavy machinery. What if they weren't just moving matter, but working with it, harmonizing with the stone's own properties rather than overpowering them? For the Egyptians, life was not about progress, it was about balance. They called it Ma'at, the principle of order, truth, and harmony. Every law, every ritual, every act of daily life was measured against this divine ideal. Their homes were simple, their art was sacred, their medicine combined herbs with magic, not as superstition, but as an acknowledgement of the unseen forces that influence the body and soul. To them, the body wasn't a machine, it was a vessel, a temple. The world wasn't a resource, it was alive. Today, we rush to digitize our lives, to virtualize our minds. But they prepared for death not with fear, but with elegance. The tomb was not an end, it was a beginning, a carefully crafted launch into eternity. They didn't just build for their lifetime, they built for forever. The Sphinx, mysterious, majestic, mute. It stares eternally to the east, toward the rising sun, and its body, worn not by sand or wind, but by water. Geologists have found patterns of erosion that could only have been caused by heavy rainfall, but that kind of rain hasn't fallen on the Giza Plateau for over 9,000 years. So how old is the Sphinx, really? Is it older than the pyramids? Older than Egypt itself? If so, then we're not just talking about misdated monuments. We're talking about a forgotten chapter of human history, a time before memory, a time erased by flood, by fire, by the slow hand of time. And yet, one monument remains, not to declare, but to whisper. Hieroglyphs weren't just writing, they were sacred art. Every symbol alive with layers of meaning. Every carving a bridge between seen and unseen. The priesthood weren't just religious leaders. They were scientists, astronomers, mathematicians, engineers, keepers of a wisdom handed down from the gods or from those who came before. They understood geometry not as dry math, but as sacred proportion. They built using the golden ratio before we had a name for it. They used pi before the Greeks calculated it. To them, math wasn't a tool. It was divine language. And maybe it still is. We often look at the past through a condescending lens. We see ourselves as the peak of evolution, the masters of knowledge. But what if we're the ones who've forgotten? They didn't separate science and spirit. They didn't measure time and progress, but in alignment with nature, with cosmos, with self. We build taller buildings. They built deeper meaning. As the wind moves through the ruins of temples, as the stars continue their ancient dance above Giza, the question remains, what did they know that we don't? The pyramids are not just tombs, they're messages, in stone, in silence, waiting, not to be explained, but to be remembered. Thank you for watching.